It's hard to imagine that a young girl like Bernadette goes with a couple of her friends, and all of a sudden she hears a sound of a dress, and she looks up and she doesn't know who it is, and then she finds out that it's the Blessed Mother. And then 15 times the Blessed Mother appears to her. I can't imagine that. I'd be so scared. I mean, after the first time, I wouldn't have gone back. You don't know what's going to happen. But man, this little girl had such great faith in the Blessed Mother, and the Blessed Mother had great faith in her. She told her, "You go tell the priest I want a chapel built here, and there's going to be a pool coming out of that stream." And that little girl started digging. She couldn't. Her hands are full of mud, and all of a sudden, water started coming up. That pool that's there in Lourdes now has been given the privilege of the church declaring 70 miracles of healing from that pool. 6 million people a year go there. 6 million visitors. And it's one of the greatest landmarks in the whole country of France. Tonight, we honor the Blessed Mother, who is responsible for all this. Now, she's appeared everywhere. Lourdes, she's appeared at Fatima, Knock, Mexico, Medjugorje. She's appeared everywhere. But she's always had the same message. And wherever she's appeared, and through her whole life, her whole message was always the same. And you had it in the gospel tonight. Her message to you and to everyone is, do whatever he tells you. Do whatever he tells you. It was an incredible wedding. Those of you in math, did you add up how much wine that is? That's a lot of wine. I mean, that was a lot of wine. And they were Mary's friends. They weren't Jesus' friends. Mary must have known a lot of people. Do whatever he tells you. Now, I'm going to confess to you, when I was first ordained, and in the first 10 years of my priesthood, I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Do whatever Jesus tells you. Now, that's a lot. Where do you go find that? You pick up that Bible? You do everything he tells you? That was pretty. That was too much. So then I thought, well, then you need to find out what was the greatest thing he told me? What was the greatest sermon? What was the greatest homily? Now, my teachers told me that I need to look to the Beatitudes. The ones you have out here on the stone, the Beatitudes, because they say it was Jesus' greatest talk, his greatest sermon. And I don't think so. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think it was his greatest sermon is that he lifted that from his mother. He stole it. He stole that from Mary. I'm not kidding you in this. I had somebody in Rome work on this. If you take the Beatitudes on one side and take Mary's Magnificat on the other, they're pretty much the same. So if he got that from his mother, I'm not going to give him credit for his greatest sermon. That's his mother's sermon. So I don't think that's his greatest sermon. So it took me 30 years. I'm embarrassed about this, but it took me 30 years to figure out what his greatest sermon was for me. And I'm embarrassed to tell you that I missed it as a priest for 30 years. And I'm embarrassed to tell you because I cannot tell you how many churches I've been in my priesthood. But for 30 years, I've been in a lot of churches. And his best sermon was on the walls. And I missed it. How could I have missed that? staring at me on the walls. Jesus took a walk to his death. His mother watched the whole thing. Mary saw the whole thing. He took a walk to his death, and he was teaching me how to live. So I'm inviting you to walk with me as we go through that walk. It's on the walls of your church here. At the very first stop on the walk, the very first station, Jesus was judged to be a criminal. He was innocent. He did nothing wrong. He was judged to be a criminal. He said nothing. But he gave us a message. Hey folks, no more judging each other. No more rash judging. No more prejudging. My Father does the judging. Okay, parents, teachers, there's a difference between judgment and evaluating behavior. Okay. As a parent, you have to evaluate behavior. But you don't go the next step of judging them to be less than you. You know how hard that is? I bet you can't go through a whole day either reading the paper, turn on television, turn on the radio, and not judge somebody. And as we talked on the weekend, if you're in your car a lot, that's really hard. But what a great message for today. Not for 2,000 years ago. No more judging. His mother knew he did nothing wrong. She watched this. The second station, the second stop, they told him, carry this cross. They put a cross on his shoulders. He never complained. He had a right to complain. He never complained. What a great message, huh? For me and maybe you. Hey, no more complaining. Why do we complain? I'm a golfer. You know what I complain about? I complain about the weather. Who's in charge of the weather? It ain't Brian Busby, it ain't Gary Lezak, it ain't Gary Amble. Now they take credit for it. You know, they take credit for the weather. Even the anchors will turn and say, hey, boy, Gary, you gave us a good day today. Gary didn't give us anything. What a great message. You know why we complain? I complain because I want you to feel sorry for me. Kind of like, who has the worst pain? Who has the worst suffering? I get this in nursing homes because I go into 100 nursing homes a year. And you get what we call one-upmanship in suffering. You know how that goes? You go in there and say, hey, Joe, how you feel? Oh, Father, my back is killing me. Before he gets that out, Sue says, my stomach's worse. And before she gets that out, somebody else says, well, I can't eat. We're all handicapped. Sometimes it shows. Sometimes it shows. By a patch, or a cane, or a wheelchair, or a walker. But we're all handicapped. So Jesus' message is, no more complaining. What a great message. The third and the seventh and the ninth stations, what a great message. I can't imagine his mother watching this. I can't. If my mother saw that happen to me, I can't imagine what she would do. He fell. He got up. He fell a second time, got up. He fell a third time and got up. Why would you get up? If that was me, I'd have stayed down and pretend I was dead. Hey, they're going to kill you anyway. They're going to kill you anyway. But you know what? He was giving us a message. And I always tell people, I always think of this basketball coach. I just thought this guy was so good. He was a great Catholic, a good guy. His name was Jimmy Valvano. And he coached North Carolina State. They won the whole thing one year, you know, the whole NCAA title. And shortly after that, he gets cancer. And eventually he had to quit coaching. And pretty soon he was close to death. So the ESPY Awards, the ESPN, they decided to give him the Lifetime Achievement Award. So the night he was to receive that, He was sitting in the front row with Dick Vitale, the announcer, his closest friend Mike Krzyzewski, the coach at Duke, his wife and 2 daughters, and they were sitting in the front row. It came time for Jimmy to give his acceptance speech of the Lifetime Achievement Award, and he couldn't walk up these 3 steps to the podium. So Dick Vitale and Mike Krzyzewski carried him up. He got up here to the podium, and he had to lean on it because he was white as a ghost, and he said, now, they told me that I have 12 minutes to give this talk. He said, what are they going to do to me if I go over 12 minutes? he said, I'm dying here. He said, so you're going to get the talk. He gave a message that resonates today. That is the message of the 3rd, 7th, and 9th stations. Never, ever give up. Never, ever give up. I wish I could get that across to every teenager. 1 hour in this country takes his life. I knew if they had that message, they would not give up. What a great message for today. His poor mother had to watch this, but she knew what he was about. And she saw it, and that's why it continues today as she appears to us. Just do whatever he tells you. Don't give up. Don't give up. The 4th, 6th, and 8th stations. Now, this is the last time Mary got to speak to him. He spoke to her when he was on the cross, but this is the last time Mary got to speak to him. The 4th, 6th, and 8th stations. Hey, men, pay close attention. He stopped 3 times by choice. All 3 times were joyous occasions. And all 3 were for women. He stopped at the 4th station for his mother. He loved his mother. That was a great, great meeting. He stopped at the 6th station. He was so moved by Veronica, he gave a picture of himself on her veil. He got to the 8th station. He said, hey, quit your crying. Quit your crying. Take care of your kids. Take care of your children. Because he knew children bring us great joy. His message was, find me in the midst of your pain and you will experience joy. It's joy. Now I can't prove this, I think he gave that message to women because only a mother knows the fine line between awful, excruciating pain and an instant, unbelievable joy in the birth of a child. You're heavy, you're uncomfortable, you go into awful pain, but in an instant, you have unbelievable joy in the birth of your child. He was telling us, find me. You're going to have pain, you're going to have suffering, but find me and you'll experience joy. What a great message for today. The 5th station is about Simon. Now, I ask you a question. Simon helps Jesus carry the cross. Who gave the gift? Simon or Jesus? See, I think Jesus gave the gift. Jesus let Simon help him. Give you an idea. Those of you who go down to Seton Center, those of you who go to soup kitchens, those of you who help the homeless, those of you who visit the nursing homes, and you do a lot of that. When you come home, don't you feel good? When you do that, I know you had to feel good about that. Tell me, how do the poor get that feeling? How do they get it? You know how they get it? They give you the gift. They let you help them. It's kind of like, I knew a lady here in Kansas City when I first came to Kansas City. She had all these kids, and all she did is take care of the kids. Then they got married and had their kids. She took care of those kids and those grandkids. That's all she took care. That's all she did, take care of the kids and the grandkids. On her deathbed, her oldest daughter went into her bedroom, took a dishcloth, put it in cold water to give her some comfort, and her mother took it out of her hand to do it herself. And her daughter said, Mom, You spent your whole life taking care of me. Let me do something for you. So those of you who keep telling me, I don't want to be a burden to my children. You gotta let them help you. Give them the gift. That is a great message for today. The 10th station is about material things. You got nice cars? You got nice homes? You got nice clothes and money? Don't feel guilty. Don't get too attached. And be willing to share. And by the way, if you have all nice things, don't think it's because you work so hard to get it. There are people who work harder than you who don't have anything. You are blessed by God. You are fortunate, so don't get too attached and be willing to share. Now, I have some friends here. I have friends here from Des Moines, Iowa. They, wherever I go, they show up. I don't even know they're coming, but they're in the second pew over here. They show up all the time. I got friends over here. They know this story. I've been doing this work for 38 years. For the first 10 years in Lent and before Lent, in February and March and January, I am in Minnesota, in Iowa, North Dakota, and Wisconsin. I did that for 10 years. When it was 39 below, I said, that's it. No more am I going to be up here during those months. I'm the director of the work. I make sure the schedules are properly worked out. Now, I'm in Arizona and California and in the South. Anyway, since my twin brother does mission, so we had this mission schedule in Tucson, the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, many years ago. So when we finished the mission, we had a rental car. We had a day to get to California to do the next mission. So we come out of the hotel, the one night we had, and Bob opened up the trunk of the car, and I thought he was going to die. He just yelled out, "They're gone!" And I said, "They're gone!" Now, the pros know how to get into those trunks without keys. You know, they're pretty good at it. So our whole trunk was cleaned out. The whole trunk. Now, I knew when he was about to die, he wasn't talking about the suitcases. The golf clubs were gone. they were gone. Now, the great news about that, our community has great insurance. So we got brand new golf clubs, brand new set, everything. Shoes, bag, golf balls, everything. However, I had a putter I had for 30 years. 30 years. I had 2 PGA professionals want it. They were willing to give me a couple of beautiful putters. I said, "No, I want that. This is mine." And I was pretty good with this putter. I don't have it anymore. I don't get the message of the first station, no judgment. I do not get the message of the second station, no complaining. I did not give up on trying to find out who took them. I saw no joy in the midst of this suffering. All of a sudden, I'm playing golf with my twin brother, and he says, "Sounds to me like you're too attached." And he was right. I got a brand new putter, and I'm moaning and groaning. I don't have the old one. So if you got nice things, don't get too attached and be willing to share. And we share. Why do we share? Because we're blessed. We're blessed. So be willing to share. Now, the 11th station is about pain. Everybody has pain. What do you do with it? What do you do with your pain? Now, the temptation is to let everybody know. See, let everybody know. Because if you tell them all your pain, they're going to feel so sorry for you. They're going to be so empathetic for you. Now, you know what Jesus did? He didn't complain. He took his pain and he offered it to his Father. And he told his Father what to do with the grace that he earned. He said, "I'm offering the pain and the suffering to you on this cross. And I want you to take care of my people." Why don't we do the same? The pain comes, offer to God and say, "Now God, take care of my grandkid. Take care of the poor. Then you see the suffering then becomes meritorious. Has a great ending. The last part of the walk, this had to be the hardest for Mary. Jesus told her the importance of family. On the cross, he turned to his mother and he pointed to St. John. He said, "There's your son." Well, that wasn't his son. Then he turned to John and he said, "There's your mother." What he was teaching us, the importance of family. That's what he was teaching us. As he was dying, he was teaching us the importance of family. But then at the end, he had one message. You gotta forgive. You gotta forgive. Now, if there's someone in your life you haven't forgiven yet, and we all experience, it can be an ex-wife, an ex-husband, a priest, sister, a teacher, a brother, a child, you gotta begin the process. Surely you're not going to show up at God's door and he says, "Hey, how come you couldn't forgive her?" And your answer is, "You don't know what she did?" God's going to, "Excuse me, I know what she did. I'm not asking you what she did. I'm asking you why you couldn't forgive her." That's tough. And that's the challenge. We must let it go. We must forgive. That's his last words. His last words. Now, he took that walk to his death to teach us how to live. He didn't want us to do that. When I was a little kid, I didn't care too much for the stations. Because they kept telling us it was my sins that nailed him to the cross. I thought, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't think that's what he had in mind. He was teaching us how to live. No more judging. No more complaining. Don't give up. Don't give up. Look for me in the midst of your pain. Let others help you. Be willing to share. Be willing to share. And when the pain comes, offer it to my Father. And then forgive. Let it go. Mary had to take the same walk. She walked along and watched it all. Never complained. Never yelled. Never screamed. Do whatever he tells you. Do whatever he tells you. Thank you to the Blessed Mother. And thank you to Jesus. Now, Lent's coming. I invite you to take that walk. Take that walk with the Lord. And know that you're walking with Mary as she walked.